First up today is the Library Service District Budget Committee meeting, and I'm going to do something different. We're going to start with introductions, so start right there.
I am Susan Nielsen.
Paul Savas, County Commissioner.
Robert Ludwig. Ken Humberston, County Commissioner.
Karen Morey. Arthur Schrader.
Brian Stewart.
All right.
Krupp, County Administrator and District Administrator.
Diane Padilla, Budget Manager.
All right. With that, we're going to ask for nominations. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask for nominations for chair of the Library Budget Committee meeting.
Commissioner, I would nominate Karen Morey as chair.
Is there a second?
Well, I would like to second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. There you go.
Thank you, sir. All right, and I now call for nominations for secretary.
I would like to nominate Susan.
Is there a second?
Second. Either one.
It has been moved and seconded that Susan Nielsen be elected secretary. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, Susan, you are officially the secretary.
Why, thank you.
And if we could now have Greg Williams, who will be presenting the budget message this year.
Good morning, Chair Morey. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Greg Williams. I'm the manager of the Business Community Services Library Network Office. Laura Zentner, the director of Business and Community Services, could not be here this morning. She was called away on a family emergency, so we will be going through the presentation. Tracy Grambush is here with me as well to help answer any questions you might have. So before you've got the budget overview, just a few quick words about the Library Service District. The Library District was established in 2008 when voters approved a countywide library district for Clackamas County. The permanent rate approved by voters in November of 2008 was $0.3974 per thousand of assessed value. The district functions as a fiscal agent by distributing property tax revenues raised by the district's permanent rate to our participating local governments who operate libraries within Clackamas County. These funds will be used in fiscal year 18-19 for the operations and support of the Clackamas County Oak Lodge Library and 11 city libraries. The city of Johnson City is the only area within Clackamas County that is not part of the library district. And on our next slide, we have locations. So within the Library Service District, there are 13 physical library locations. Each of those library locations has a designated service area that they provide service to. Those service areas are made up of both city residents and unincorporated residents. In the aggregate, our libraries share a collection of about 1 million items and generate about 6 million circulations per year. So on this slide, we've got the revenue picture for the Library Service District. So for fiscal year 18-19, the district is anticipated to have a starting fund balance of approximately $2.86 million. The main revenue sources are going to be current year taxes of approximately $18.3 million, prior year delinquencies of $270,000, and interest and penalties of approximately $40,000. Expenditures, the district's total expenditures for the fiscal year are estimated to be approximately $21.5 million. Approximately $18.7 million of that is being distributed to the district's library service providers, and approximately $2.8 million represents the amount being held in trust per the current district IGA. So under the current IGA, to the extent that the distributions to the Oak Lodge Library are greater than the annual operational need, those funds are reserved, required to be held in trust by the district for expenditure at such time as a new Oak Lodge Library will be built. No district funds are used for any administrative cost of the district. All the money that comes in goes back out to our libraries. The fund balance has no contingencies, no reserves, and once again, there is that $2.8 million other special payments. That's the amount held in trust per the IGA. So here we've got a slide that shows the estimated distribution that's going to each library service provider. So every year, district funds are distributed to our library service providers based on a formula that's outlined in the Library District IGA Intergovernmental Agreement. As I mentioned, each library's service area consists of both residents of the cities, city residents and unincorporated areas. Accordingly, the distribution formula takes both factors into account when distributions are made. The first factor is the assessed value component, whereby each library service provider receives a proportionate share of a distribution based on their city's assessed value. The second component is based on the unincorporated population of those service areas, and again, each service provider receives a proportionate share of a distribution based on their percentage of the unincorporated population that they serve in their service areas. So we have a slide here on financial trends, revenue trends. There is, the assessor estimates that the growth in property tax revenue for fiscal year 18-19 will be 4.5%, so a little more than the usual 3% coming in. That's generally due to new construction. And expenditure trends, same. The funds will be distributed to our libraries, and once again, the district has no staff, no FTE, no administrative costs. Accomplishments. So Business and Community Services provides the administrative support for the district. Provide district libraries with revenue estimates for fiscal year 18-19 to allow our library service providers to better manage and plan for their operations. Business and Community Services prepares and manages the annual budget, the supplemental budgets, and the financial statements on behalf of the library district. We provide district libraries with timely distribution of funds, and we also provide staff support to the Citizen Library District Advisory Committee. We've got no policy level proposals. And finally, just a couple of issues and trends to let you know about. We are in the process, the board has approved formation of a library district task force. With some recent discussions, particularly surrounding Oak Lodge and Gladstone, some issues have come out that several stakeholders would like to address within the library district. Issues of governance, issues of funding, issues of library services. So we're in the process of organizing a task force with representatives from many stakeholder groups to look at those issues, come up with some recommendations for the board, and see if there might be any changes to the district that might be necessary. And with that, that is the end of the formal presentation. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. And I have Tracy here to help me as well. So,
Any questions?
I just
Commissioner Savas?
have a comment. I think it's important to get it on the record, and that is that there's been a little bit of confusion on a very complex settlement agreement between Gladstone and the county. And I know that there have been, in some of the language, the suggestion that, mistaken suggestion that the settlement would mean that the district would be levied for any debt service to build the library. And actually, the language isn't really how it sounds, is that the actual distribution amount that goes to the Gladstone portion or goes to the Oak Lodge portion will be used, and it will not impact the distribution period. It won't be the district that'll be levied. It won't be the distribution that'll change. That every other city distribution will remain intact and will not suffer any negative consequences as it relates to this agreement, period. But there is that misunderstanding out there in the language. It's kind of, I can understand in the language of the settlement agreement how one might suggest or think that the library district funds would be used, but that's not the case.
Commissioner Humbertson.
Close. Still close. It's okay.
Ken.
There you go. A lot easier that way, let me tell you. Even for me. Actually, I had 4 questions. You actually answered 3 of them, so I don't have to belabor it. I have one other question. It's a reporting one that I would just mention to Ms. Padilla, and that was on page 7. It took me a little while to figure out how you were reporting the $2,809,893. And then I did turn the page and finally figured it out. But I was just wondering, that there's an additional 55,000 that takes it up to 2864,893. So I figured out how you incorporated it, but I was just thinking as a separate line, it would have been a little easier to figure out, that's all. Just a recording thing,
We'll try and be more clear next time. Thanks.
not a big deal. Thank you.
Okay, Brian?
Just a question, I'm not sure who to direct to. Looking at the projected year end for 2018, delinquent taxes were set at 150 versus the amended budget was 320. So that's a significant drop from the amended budget to the projected year end. Curious what that decrease was. I'm assuming it's across the county-wide. But if there's such a significant drop there, why is it back projected to 270 for this coming fiscal year?
We know, or should we?
Should we?
We don't
come back?
have all the numbers in yet for the current year, and there was an assumption that prior year taxes would be prepaid versus paid later due to some legislation changes as far as the tax is concerned, the property taxes are concerned, in how they will benefit from paying in one year versus another year.
Okay.
Chair Bernard?
Actually, I think Ken had a good question, because I had never heard that before. And that is, since Johnson City is not in the district, what do they pay for their library cards? And then, do we know how many Johnson City residents have library cards?
So the amount that any non-district user would pay for a library card, whether they're in Johnson City or whether they're in another county, would be $95 to get a full Clackamas County library card. I'm sure I could pull those numbers from our system. I don't have them off the top of my head.
It's okay.
Do
you know
but
how
we
many?
can definitely get those for
Do you know how many people pay for their library card?
We get it's not a huge amount. We did an analysis a couple of years ago, and one of the largest areas is actually Wilsonville, because there's a portion of the outskirts of Wilsonville which is right on the cusp of Clackamas County, and I
Right.
believe it's Marion County.
Washington County.
Washington County, and a lot of those residents, it's very convenient for them to get to the Wilsonville library. So when you look at the numbers of libraries that have out of library cards, and Wilsonville goes way up. So,
Okay. That's all I need to know. Thank
Is
you.
that $95 one time or
$95 per year.
per year?
And that was based on, they did a
Taxes.
calculation at the time the district was formed. This is approximately what the average person would pay in taxes to take advantage of having a library card. And so that's what library. You're welcome.
And so a follow-up on that, so where are those funds received? Are those by the cities themselves?
Yes, those are received by the cities themselves. So the cities are responsible when somebody comes to sign up for a library card. The cities are responsible for validating whether they are in the district or outside of the district. If the determination is made that they are outside of the district, those libraries are the ones who will assess the $95, generally under the assumption that they're the ones going to be providing the service to those patrons.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Hearing none, I will open the public hearing. Is anyone here to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. And we now need a motion to approve the budget.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
We actually need somebody
the
to read the
language.
whole thing. But thank
Gotta
you.
read the ad valorem and stuff.
Susan?
I would move that the committee approve the 2018-2019 budget in the amount of $21,533,051 for the Clackamas County Library Service District as presented, and impose the district's maximum permanent rate of $0.3974 per $1,000 of assessed value within district boundaries.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the budget be approved. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the budget passes, and this hearing is adjourned.